town. There's nothing extraordinary about this stretch of the road as we go in, but it gets more quaint and historic as we get closer into the town. Driving further down. We're in Carbon County. I guess because they used to mine a lot of coal here at one time. Headed to the historic business district. Pretty church. A lot of these school buses are for rafting trips. So it's a real big rafting area. That's how I first discovered this place. Came here with a group of friends. Coconut Whitewater. And where we finished our trip on the river, on the Lehigh River, was right here in town. So let's see how to get here. This might be taking me out of the town and then I'll have to come back. We'll see. Figure it out. Well, even though we left a substantially sized residential area, it says this is the way to the historic business district. So, and these hills rising up are rising up from the river, so it's really a dramatic setting. And here's an old-fashioned train, so they have that too, the Reading and Northern. A lot of things to do here. And we got a lot of traffic, so we'll sort it out here. So that looks like the old train depot station. Looks like my biggest challenge of the day is going to be finding a parking space. So we'll have to see where that will be. Here's the Carbon County Courthouse, built in 1893. It's a Romanesque beauty. Alright, let's see where I can park. Let's check out what's rolling into town here. Just a two-car train, but it's really moving. Pretty cool. This is where you pay for parking, and that's the river right there. It looks pretty narrow. I remember it as being wider, but maybe it's just one branch of it. And there's the town. $12 to park. Alright, let's check out the town. I believe this is a bike path. Runs along the parking lot. Haven't seen anybody walk on it yet, just bikers. Here's more of the town. Have to cross the tracks at some point. The river is over here. There's places to stay here, I'll show you. The two times I was here, I think once was in my 20s and the other time was in my 30s, so it's been a while since I've been here. But it is how I remember it. Reading, Blue Mountain, and Northern. check out more. Here's that great looking train station after the train just pulled out. It went down that way. I wonder if it's gonna just switch tracks and come back, or if it's going south somewhere. There's just one track here. People are buying tickets. Let's see how much they cost. It's windy, but I just wanted to capture some Amish people who are here. Not an unusual sight in Pennsylvania. Well, at this end of the station they have a bridge. You can go take a look at the river. So that's what we'll do. The Lehigh River. Nice bridge. Looks pretty new. A mansion house. I guess there was a resort here at one time. I'll take a picture and summarize what this says. Let's take a look at the river. There's some rafters down there who have temporarily stopped along that wall. You can see a lot more rafts or whatever upriver a little bit. Beautiful setting. You can sort of hear the rapids from here. I don't know if the camera's picking them up. You know, historic thing about coal transport in Mauch Chunk, which is what Jim Thorpe used to be called. Mauch Chunk. Not to be confused with Minunka Chunk, which is in New Jersey, which I did a video of earlier. Alright, let's go look at the town. Dying to see the town. I'm wondering if there's a bad way to approach this town. It seems like every way you can walk into it is interesting. The Lehigh Coal and Navigation Building. Lots of bikes to rent. What a courthouse. And it's just a little glimpse of the downtown. Here we are at the corner of Broadway and Susquehanna. Okay, now the star attraction of the downtown. That is the correct time. Here in mid-July. I got 4 doors. This is the main place to stay, the inn at Jim Thorpe. I haven't checked rates recently, but I remember it was expensive. It almost feels a little European. I'd show you the stores, but they're mostly what you'd expect. You know, antique jewelry, gifts, ice cream. You know they sell ice cream somewhere, multiple places here. It's so cool to live in one of those apartments up there. Another Romanesque style building here, the library. The Dimmick Memorial Library. I think where I stayed here one time was back here in this road that runs parallel to Broadway. Streetscape house.
Make sure that David is keeping an eye out for them. Oh yes, we did get past that one that's pretty much going past. If you want to look around.
It's just fun to walk where there's an interesting streetscape. Even if the stores aren't maybe that interesting. Looking down the street during a little break in the traffic. There's one historic plaque. Not very ancient history, 1948. There's that trolley that we saw. One thing I find good about going to visit a place by yourself is you can go at your own pace. My wife and I like to travel and see places, but we're interested in different things, so a lot of times we split up and arrange to meet somewhere. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, you know, traveling together with someone and also having some time on your own to explore the way your particular curiosity leads you. Wow, the Mach Chunk Opera House. Every town should have an opera house. Every town did have an opera house back in the day. I guess people liked opera back in the 1800s. "137 years of performance, 1881. David Bromberg, it's the one name I recognize, and then some tribute bands. The music of David Bowie. The music of Janis Joplin. Music of Elton John. It's the state of live music these days. This is a former firehouse. First Presbyterian Church. It says it's closed. Is it now a museum? That's the question. Alright, so it turns into more residential up the street. So I'll film some more as we walk up the street. One question that might come to mind is, this is in eastern Pennsylvania. Could you live here and commute to New York City? Well, that'd be a hell of a commute. Actually, I know some people though that do commute in from as far away as Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. One guy I know, he drives it. It used to take him 3 hours each way, going at nearly 100 miles an hour. So it could be done, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's just a little too far out, and you could drive a ways to get to an express bus or a train, but you'd have to drive a good hour or more just to get to a far out train station. And then it's a long 2-hour train ride into the city, 2 hours or more. And by the way, it's not cheap either. It'd be like $500 a month or more from the furthest out. Walk up a little bit further up the street and then come back into the downtown. There's more interesting places to see on some of the side streets too. But it is a long, narrow town. As you can see, the hills rise up steeply on each side. Just still an occasional art store or some other kind of store, but it's mostly residential as you go west and up out of town. This blue house looks like the winner. This is an old jail museum. Oh, this reminds me of Belfast, Northern Ireland, where you can take a tour of an old jail. Infamous jail. Beautiful with the flower boxes on the top floor. Okay, right by the one church that's still a going concern, the Immaculate Conception Catholic Church. is right across from some flowing water. So let's check it out. We have a Vietnam memorial here. Always sad to see. Pay our respects. Beautiful sight for it. That water is rushing down to the Lehigh. And going underground for a while. For those of you who like the sound of flowing water. Alright, so this is where we'll turn around and go back into town at the Catholic Church. This is another firehouse, the Phoenix Hose Company, but I don't think it's still operating. These people are getting a workout, going uphill. I was reading the historic plaque about this jail, and they were saying how members of an Irish gang were hanged here. The Molly Maguires. I'll have to read more about that history. Erected, looks like 1868 and 70. It's a fortress. And I guess that was the little outdoor recreation area. One thing you don't pick up on film, but I'll relate it to you, is when you walk by some of these houses, it's vintage Pennsylvania. You have the smell wafting out of stale cigarette smoke from years of smoking. It seems like a high percentage of people in Pennsylvania smoke. And that's the byproduct. This plaque says that this house, which I think is now an inn, I'm not sure. It's built in 1844. It's the oldest house in Mauch Chunk, or Jim Thorpe. This is called the Dolan House Bed and Breakfast. Looks nice on the outside. A nice porch. We'll do a little side street walking here at, well, that's Hill Road on that side, and this is Race Street. Maybe it's where the water races down to the Lehigh. We'll walk down this street. You'd hope it wasn't for cars, but I think it is. Let's see what there is to see. A lot of old cars. Just take a look at these old cars. This is the main attraction here on this block. What are these? Chrysler. Another Chrysler. Pretty cool. are open, but what is open? Can't quite make out that store. This is called Stone Row. And there's a pub and an eatery by the same name. And more gift shops. Selling Americana. Made in China, probably. Like everywhere else in the world. If you can see up here, that's where I'm going to head up to the house with the red roof and the cupola. That's the Asa Packer Mansion. It's the star attraction of the town. And this is called the Times House Bed and Breakfast. I just wonder if this is where we stayed. I don't remember what it looked like. Or if there's more than one place on this street. Heading back down into town. I think I can see the train station down there. Looks like another good-sized church. St. Mark's Episcopal. It says in memory of Asa Packer, so I guess Asa Packer of the Packer Mansion fame. This is the church he went to. Alright, let's check it out. More of the downtown. And it looks like the full-size historic train is in the station. I'll go down and take a look at that first. And then we'll go up to the Asa Packer Mansion. Pretty good length train. It's like 20 cars long. And it has a couple of high-level observation cars, which I've ridden on before. They're so much fun. Kind of having a sunroof on your train. Go up here and take a look at the front of the engines. We're getting it ready for the next trip. Here's your train schedule, 70-minute round trip. Call it the Superdome. I had to explore this, but is it a thing where you put your bike on these cars and then you go up one way and then you ride back down? I bet that's what it is. Now that's what a train engine should look like. Road of Anthracite. Very cool. Speaking of the Molly Maguires, here's a pub named after them. Right here by the train. And the county courthouse. So it looks like the Packers had the money in the town. Here's the Asa Packer Mansion. I've been inside. It's interesting. It's as nice on the inside as it is on the outside.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, now you know.
Let me tell you, this road might not look that steep, but it's steep. get a workout coming up here. I feel like these houses were owned by brothers, some kind of relation. This is the Harry Packer mansion. Equally nice. A little park across the street. Maybe we'll take a walk down that on our way back down. So when you have mansions like this, of course you have to have a carriage house as part of your estate. I don't know if that's it, but there's a library in the carriage house. So the Harry Packer mansion is now a bed and breakfast. And they advertise having murder mansion weekends. For if you're into that. Nice little driveway behind the house with a little porte cochere, so you don't have to get out of your car in the rain. Beautiful. So I guess Asa Packer, the Packer family, they could look out across and see their church in the distance. The Episcopal Church across the way. So there's a lot more things I could show of this really small town that's got a lot of visual punch to it. But I'll just finish this video with clips of various things that we've seen in the video and plus a few new things, and leave you with that. And I'll also include a picture at the end of the person who this town is named after, Jim Thorpe, who was buried in this town. But I'm going to save that for a separate video. I went to his gravesite and shot some video there, so that'll be a separate video. So I hope you enjoyed this trip. It's probably best to be a day trip from either New York or Philadelphia or the surrounding area, but you could stay overnight too. There's a lot of different things you could do, like take that train ride or whitewater rafting down the Lehigh River, or take a hike up the side of the hill where there used to be a incline railroad that would bring coal down from the top of the mountain down into town. You can do that. There's restaurants to eat at. There's like a dozen restaurants in town. There's about a dozen different places to stay. I didn't see all of them, but supposedly there are. And you can take a tour of the Packer Mansion. That's something I've done in the past. It's very nice to do. So there's a lot of stuff you can do in the town. You could stay overnight. I don't think you have to. I think you could do this in a day trip as long as you get an early start, but you have the options of staying overnight if you want to. So what I thought I could show you of Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. Thanks for sticking with me. It was kind of a long video, but thanks for joining me.